In the heart of forever, before the sands of time began to fall, there was a kingdom bathed in eternal sunlight. This was the gift of Osiris, the radiant king, whose wisdom nourished the land as the Nile nourishes the soil. His queen, the luminous Isis, was magic itself, her love a river that flowed through the heart of their world, binding all things in harmony. Their reign was a golden age, a symphony of peace and abundance, where every dawn brought with it the promise of life. But even in the brightest light, a shadow can be born. It took the form of Set, the brother of Osiris, his heart a barren desert where envy grew like a thorny weed. He watched the love and adoration that flowed to Osiris not with pride, but with a silent, simmering bitterness. He saw the flourishing kingdom not as a shared legacy, but as a throne that was not his. In the quiet corners of his mind, a dark seed of ambition took root, watered by jealousy and pride. Set plotted, his thoughts weaving a net of deception. He announced a grand feast in honor of his brother, a celebration meant to echo through the ages. He crafted a magnificent chest, a sarcophagus of unparalleled beauty, adorned with gold and precious stones, its design a marvel of artistry. He declared that this prize would belong to whomever it fit perfectly. One by one the gods and nobles tried, but the chest seemed to reject them all. Then, with a gentle smile, Osiris stepped forward. The moment he lay within, the chest embraced him, a perfect fit, as if it were made from his own shadow. In that instant, the celebration turned to betrayal. The doors slammed shut, the joyous music silenced by the heavy thud of the sealed lid. Set and his followers seized the chest, their faces twisted into masks of triumph. The air grew cold as they carried their king, now a prisoner in his own beautiful coffin, to the banks of the mighty Nile. They cast him into the river's dark embrace, sending him adrift toward the vast unknown sea. The golden age was shattered. Darkness had fallen. When news of this treachery reached Isis, a cry of pure anguish tore from her soul, a sound that echoed across the heavens and shook the foundations of the earth. Her world, once a garden of light, was now a desolate wasteland. But grief in a heart as vast as hers is not an end. It is a fire. It burns away despair and forges resolve. Stripping herself of her royal garments, she set out on a journey born of unwavering love, a quest to find her lost husband and restore the light he embodied. Her search was a pilgrimage of sorrow and hope. She followed the whispers of the wind and the currents of the water, her magic a compass guiding her through foreign lands. She asked the children, for their eyes see truths that adults ignore. They told her of a great chest washed ashore, tangled in the roots of a mighty tamarisk tree in a distant land called Byblus. The tree, drawn to the divine energy within, had grown around the sarcophagus, encasing it in a column of fragrant wood. So magnificent was this pillar that the king of Byblus had it cut down and placed in his own palace, unaware of the sleeping god it held. Isis traveled to Byblus, her divine presence cloaked in humility. She sat by a well, a silent mourner, until the queen's handmaidens came to draw water. Isis wove her magic into their hair, blessing them with a divine fragrance that captivated the queen. Summoned to the palace, she became a nurse to the infant prince, her true identity hidden. Each night, she would place the child in a sacred fire, a ritual to burn away his mortality and grant him eternal life. But one night, the queen discovered her. In her fear, she screamed, breaking the spell and sealing her son's mortal fate. Revealing her true form, a goddess of immense power and sorrow, Isis confessed her quest. The king and queen, filled with awe and remorse, offered her anything she desired. She asked only for the pillar that stood in their hall. With trembling hands, they gave it to her. She cut away the wood, revealing the chest that held her beloved. Clutching it to her heart, she let out a cry of both pain and relief, and set sail back to the black lands of Egypt. In the seclusion of the papyrus swamps, under the watchful eyes of the moon, Isis used her formidable magic. She breathed life back into Osiris's cold form, her love a potent spell against the finality of death. For a brief stolen moment, light returned to his eyes. In that sacred union, a new life was conceived: Horus, the Avenger, the heir of light, destined to reclaim his father's throne. But Set's spies were everywhere. Hunting in the marshes, he discovered the hidden sanctuary. His rage, a tempest that knew no bounds, erupted. He tore his brother's body into 14 pieces, scattering them across the length and breadth of Egypt, determined that Osiris would never be whole again. It was the ultimate act of desecration, a final attempt to extinguish the memory of the Golden King. Once more, Isis was plunged into despair, but her love was not a fragile thing to be broken. It was an ocean, deep and endless. Joined by her sister, Nephthys, who had abandoned the cruel Set, she began her second, more heart-wrenching quest. They searched every corner of the land, their journey a litany of sorrow. They found his pieces one by one in the sand, by the river, under the shadow of monuments. With each piece they found, they consecrated the ground, building a shrine, turning the land itself into a sacred temple to his memory. After gathering all but one piece which had been lost to the Nile, Isis used her divine power to perform the first rite of embalming. She painstakingly reassembled her husband, wrapping him in linen bandages, her chants weaving a powerful magic of preservation and rebirth. She fashioned a new phallus from gold, completing him. Through this act of supreme devotion, Osiris was not resurrected into the world of the living, but reborn into something far greater. He became the eternal lord of the Duat, the underworld, the king of the afterlife. He became the silent judge, the promise of renewal for every soul that crossed into his realm. He was no longer just a king of a physical kingdom, but the sovereign of the soul's journey. His death was not an end, but a transformation. It created the cycle that governs our world, the setting and rising of the sun, the flooding and receding of the Nile, the planting and harvesting of the grain. Osiris became the symbol of resurrection, the proof that even in the deepest darkness, life persists. His story is etched into the stars, a timeless reminder that every ending is but a prelude to a new beginning. This ancient tale, whispered from the heart of eternity, is not just a story of gods. It is the story of humanity. We all carry within us the light of Osiris and the shadow of Set, the capacity for love and the potential for envy, the strength for creation and the impulse for destruction. We all experience loss that shatters our world, and we all possess the resilience of Isis, the power of a love that can piece us back together when we are broken. Life will lead us through deserts of grief and cast us into rivers of uncertainty. We will be torn apart by betrayal, by failure, by the simple, painful act of living. But the story of Osiris teaches us that nothing is ever truly lost. It is only transformed. Each fall is an opportunity to rise in a new form, wiser and more whole. Death is not a final destination, but a gateway to rebirth. Like the seed that must be buried in the dark earth to sprout into new life, we too must sometimes embrace the darkness to find our own resurrection. Look within. The magic of Isis, the spirit of Osiris, it is there. It is the unwavering faith that even after the longest night, the dawn will come. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Subscribe for more stories of light and rebirth.